Hey everyone, welcome to the LIBERcast, episode 180. This is, I have the chance of having a great guest on the show the last months, and I would like to thank everyone, the guests and the people who are following the LIBERcast. Thank you so much for being there and supporting the work that the content that I'm creating. And thank you for sharing care and love and truth to everyone. I'm gonna introduce my guest James in a moment, but first I'm gonna put on my usual shout out to the One Great Work Network. So the One Great Work Network is an aggregate of researchers, content creators, people that are into different kind of information, like the occult, morality, natural law, psychology, and then you have all the tarot and astrology. So there's hundreds of hours of stuff that you can discover there. There's over 70 creators on the page, so go there. It's totally free. So go there and you don't have to subscribe to anything, and you can easily take on all this incredible information. I would suggest Mark Passio for sure, but there's Will Keller's, and then there's the Cubby Hole, and there's plenty of stuff to discover there. And there's even French stuff for the people with Dorian, me, and Dom Tremblay. So there's French even, and I think there's Spanish, and there's another one I couldn't remember which one. So it's getting bigger. So go encourage them. OneGreatWorkNetwork.com. So my shout out is made. Here we go. Hey, thank you, James, for partaking in the LIBERcast for yet another time, and I'm happy to having you and help you and help us to unfold this incredible information that is voluntarist and anarchist, and I think we have to talk about this way more than we're actually doing. The whole blueprint that is building around freedom and sovereignty and morality, we can all have all that, and that's what it's easy, but we lack the will of doing it. So thank you, man. For the people who don't know you, can you go quickly over your work and where you're from and where you're going now?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Fred, and I'm happy to be back. This is wonderful. So happy that you invited me here. My name is James Cordiner. I am from New England, originally Massachusetts, but we got out of that socialist hellhole and we moved to the great state of New Hampshire. And this is where myself and my family reside. I am an avid freedom-minded activist type person, and I am a voluntarist. We'll get into just what that means in a little bit. I've had a vendetta against the public education system in America for nearly my entire life, and I have in more recent years taken to the internet to talk about it, and I have been more outspoken even in my immediate physical surroundings about the topic. Um, I used to run a podcast called A Hitchhiker's Guide to Truth. Maybe some of you have heard of it. I know Fred, you and I go way back with that. And then what else is there? Co-organized Shattering the Illusion, and that was a online event in 2022, which was kind of like an online conference. Spoke at Seed 5 last year. I'm an autonomy graduate from the autonomy course of season 10. Very proud of that. And I am a content creator on the One Great Work Network. Proud father, proud husband, and just all around hardworking blue collar dude trying to make a difference in the world for a better future for my kids. I think that sums it up. You are muted, my friend.
I've been an anarchist and abolitionist ideologically since my earlier years in life. I happen to understand the violence and the what it meant to be in a slavery mechanism of control. And I couldn't explain that because I wasn't educated like I am now. But the more the years were passing, the more I was becoming an ardent anarchist. And I think this is about common sense, and this is what I'm dealing with on the LIBERcast. Actually, this is why I in the French side, I'm telling to people, you don't have to call it natural law, you just call it common sense. And I mean I have to repeat that a lot in the LIBERcast. Why government is slavery? Why is it violence? Why is it illegitimate? With simple explanation, down to earth explanation. So I have a question for you. What is your definition of voluntarism?
I like to think that my definition is the definition. And so I can read it right from the homepage of the website. It's the first thing anyone will read when they show up there. Voluntaristacademy.com is the name of my new website, new show, podcast, thing, whatever, a way for me to convey information. I'm calling it Voluntarist Academy. I really, really want to help people learn about this philosophy. So voluntarism is the social philosophy that all forms of human association should be voluntary and based on the non-aggression principle. That is the NAP. We can call it the NAP from here on out. The non-aggression principle that posits that any initiation of violence on peaceful people is illegitimate, no matter what the outcome, but allows for the use of force in self-defense or to protect property. In other words, the proposition that interactions in which both parties consent are universally preferable to interactions in which interactions in which parties could go in one. I can't even read. I'm sorry. Interactions in which one party coerces the other. Voluntarism is the moral position which maintains that no peaceful person can justly be submitted to the control of others in the absence of his or her own consent. I flubbed up there because I have a typo. It says on, it should say one. Anyways, so that's what voluntarism is. Now, there's also the something that I've left out here because unfortunately, in this day and age, the word anarchy
Mm-hmm.
it scares some people off. And I'll tell you, the only thing that makes me feel a little bad about any of this is that I left that word out on purpose. It's still in the symbol there is the anarchist symbol is included. I very purposefully called it VA. I chose Voluntarist Academy very purposefully so I could include the anarchist symbol in the sigil. But voluntarism is a euphemization of anarchism for the purpose in clearing the air on just what the heck anarchism is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be bricks flying through windows, people flipping over cars and burning cities down. Anarchy does not mean chaos. I'm sure you've gone over this 100 times, but as part of my repertoire here, my part of my speech here, I feel it necessary to once again repeat that the real definition of anarchism or anarchy is simply without rulers. From the Greek prefix an means without, and the suffix archon turns into archy. Anarchy. Archon means rulers, and that's not the measurement stick. It's not no rules, as in no law, no rules like, oh, everyone can do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whoever they want, wherever they may be. We're talking about a ruling class, the abolition of a ruling class.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? Anarchism is the condition of freedom. That is what you get. You get anarchism, but it takes action to get there. Voluntarism is the action that we will be able to perform in order to achieve a state of freedom. The condition of anarchism. We have a condition of slavery. What's the opposite of slavery? Anarchism,
Mm-hmm.
freedom. But we need to perform certain actions in order to achieve that abolition of slavery. That's where the philosophy of voluntarism comes in. Voluntary interactions between people. No coercion. That leads to freedom. So
starting on the truth that a tyranny can be created and it takes only two people to do it.
mm-hmm.
So if there's violence, then that's illegitimate. This is something that you don't have the right to do, using violence and many. And let's let's take this podcast and talk about anarchy. And I think it's a good refresher for people. So the act of slavery is based on violence. And why are we saying violence? Because violence can be resumed into one category, and it's theft. And I think it's important to understand that this principle, this simple truth, for having that that's a base for a foundation for something. So we cannot have what we want if violence continues. And the thing with government, and I'm jumping all over the place with that, but the thing with government, it doesn't exist. That's a religion, that's a belief, and government doesn't exist in nature. So based on that, based on this two people example there, how many pain and suffering and death can we endure until starting to do something? Our
we shouldn't be
response, yeah, go on, man, go on.
we shouldn't be We shouldn't be tolerant of any of the violence. However, people have free will.
Yep.
And they're allowed to choose. They're allowed to choose violence. The problem is that the people who are having their rights violated, the ones that are the victims of the violence, a lot of times they are helpless and they are defenseless.
Yeah.
And more than not, there are reasons as to why they have found themselves in the position of helplessness and defenselessness. Now, that takes a lot of training to make somebody feel that completely helpless, to be violated on such a grand scale as we've been. You know, the violence of the state knows no bounds, and they will do it if they can get away with it, because people have stood idly by and done nothing to stop it.
Yep.
And now, because of how long it's been that the violence has been going on, these immoral actions compound upon one another, and it makes it more and more difficult as more and more time goes on to put an end to it. For example, the Federal Reserve in the United States. The time to have stopped the Federal Reserve was in 1913 when it first got established. Okay. We didn't have a centralized bank before that. It was abolished by Andrew Jackson. We've had banks in this country before the Federal Reserve, but centralized banking was abolished in this country for quite a while before the Federal Reserve was formed. So, as my example, the time to stop that was when it was first created. But because it's been 112 years almost, it's very difficult to put an end to something like that now, isn't it? The time to stop the federal government from being formed was in the early the early 19th century when it was formed. There were arguments back and forth about that. So when we see violent action happening, we need to put an end to it immediately. If we see a cop kneeling on somebody's neck, don't whip your phone out. Tackle the cop off of the guy. Save a life. Put a stop to the violence. We have a right to defend ourselves, and we have a right to defend the people who seemingly cannot defend themselves in the moment. It's called the self-defense principle. You know, it's not about man's law. It's about the laws of the universe, God's law, natural law. And when you're acting right and you're defending others and you're defending yourself, karma will know. And so what? The government scribbles are saying one thing. Fuck them. We need to act right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not acting right, you're doing wrong. Plain and simple. It's a big pill for people to swallow, but that is the truth.
Yeah, if you're partaking into the government, you're a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple as that. Voting is a form of violence, and
that is very true.
It was written on your website, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I try to pound this information as much as I can, because it's common sense.
Why should I consent to coercing my neighbors into accepting theft?
Yeah.
I don't want to steal from them. And you know why I don't want to steal from them? Because I've had things stolen from me, and I don't like the way that feels. So when I see other people, I assume that they would feel something similar to how I felt when my belongings were stolen from me. And how dare I ever go and make someone else feel that terrible? It's not cool. So never mind if it's right or wrong. It's just a terrible feeling. Why would you want to do that to someone else? If you really want, trust me, I know the difference between right and wrong. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. I'm just saying simply for the fact of the feeling that you would have if it were done to you. Why would you want to put someone else through that, assuming that they would feel the same way. What are you, some kind of sick individual? What are you, a psychopath? You know, like if you've ever been punched in the face, and I have, it's a terrible feeling. Why would you want to do that to someone else? Just for the sheer fact of assuming that that's how they would feel too. You know, and it's these things that we can really reflect upon and say, no, I don't want to do those things. And I'm not going to tolerate it when I see those things happening to other people. The violence can stop, but it stops with us as individuals understanding that we have the power over our own actions and our own minds, and making sure that we don't partake in those actions. And we can say, no, thank you. I'm all set. I'm going to walk away because I have free will and I have freedom of choice, and I don't need to be here for this. Now, when we zoom out and we see the federal government in the United States for what they are, how difficult really is it to get away with not paying their federal income tax, these things. It's extremely difficult. And they have a very big stick. And that's my opinion. There's people out there that think otherwise. Good for you. I hope it works out. And I hope it works out for me too. But I got to tell you, it's a very big stick and it's very intimidating. You know, but when we talk about our daily day-to-day interactions with people, it's very, very easy, extremely easy to put an end to violent action. When you see it, do something about it. And when and if you're feeling like you're tempted to partake in those actions, don't do it. You know, the golden rule is do not do unto others as you would not have done unto you. And it's as simple as that. Now, when we get enough people on our side and we get enough people realizing, oh, I don't have to worry about my neighbor smacking me over the head with a stick, you know, and then the only violence left is the violence of the state. Never mind the violence of the social conditions and all the social strife going on in the world right now. What if we narrowed it down and the only violence left was the violence of the state? How easy would it then be to put a stop to it? When everyone's getting along, no one's worried about right or left, this party, that party, Gaza, Israel, the dividing line, the cultural dividing line that goes down the middle of the kitchen table every night at dinner. We all got over that stupid, superficial bullshit that's mostly a psyop. How easy would it be to really gang up on them? Because there are more of us than there are of them. And we could really put a stop to it very quickly. So it brings to mind, you know, and I know this was a while back and I know it was kind of silly, but the Occupy Wall Street movement, stories about that are all over the internet. And there were people, Republican, Democrat, liberal, whatever, conservative, all these different people of all these different social and political affiliations, and they were all angry about the same thing. And then what happened? Quick, get some cultural division in there.
Yeah.
You know, break it up.
Nothing happened actually.
Well, because it got broken up by a bunch of cultural division that was intentionally put into the social movement that was happening. And this is how it's done. You get people fighting amongst themselves. And it's the same with our, you know, the last show you and I did, we talked about this exact same thing. When I was on for LIBERcast, the last time I was on, we talked about in the freedom community, people fighting and the infighting in the freedom community. And that's why nothing ever gets done. You know, people are really just acting so bitter toward one another. And it doesn't need to be that way. Think about all the good that we could do if we could get over all that stuff and work together for a change, you know? And it's like, and how much progress we could make if we weren't worried about clicks and likes and, you know, who's doing what and who's a lazy YouTuber. Like there's people on Facebook calling people like you and I lazy YouTubers. And it's like, look, we all got a part to play. What the hell? Stop. So, I mean, back to the point was that like, this is how the problem upstairs, you know, between your ears, this is how this happens, and how it keeps going on and on and on. And that's the mind control of the state, you know, of the media, and all these things that really are there to intellectually disarm you, and to make it so that you fall prey to the psyop, and that you feel scared, and you need somebody to step in to be the hero, all these different things.
Hmm.
And then it's this terrible dialectic of, the Hegelian, they call it the Hegelian dialectic of, problem, reaction, solution. And that's how they get you. But if we can just and it's mostly like pit one group against the other, and that's how you get the best results. But we got to overcome that, and really realize who the real problem is. You got people out in the ghettos and the really rundown cities and stuff that think that people that look like me are the problem. And then you got people that look like me in different parts of the country that think that they're the problem. And then it's just like, no, dude, guess who the real problem is? Guess who did this to every one of us? The government. They're the real problem. Stop it. And you vote we're going to come up to an election year this year. The people vote every 4 years, every couple of years in this country. And it's just like, you just want a new dad every couple of years. It's ridiculous. That's why voting is violence, because they come in and they can write down whatever they want. And now it's law. They're making it so you can't even criticize foreign governments in the United States anymore. Certain foreign governments, Israel, you can't criticize Israel anymore in this country. Like, things about that. It's like, dude, what happened to freedom of speech? This is insane. And it's like, I don't need it to be written down on a piece of paper for it to be legitimate. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just simply highlighting the fact that they're doing these things and everyone's just bending over and taking it. And it's like, you're voting, and it's, I don't know, man. I'm on a rant here. Stop me at any time. But it's like you can't do this stuff to innocent people. You can't even do this stuff to the people who are allegedly guilty, because the things that a lot of these people are guilty of are just government scribbles, things that are meaningless, like cannabis laws, for instance. That's a good example. Any drug law, any tax evasion law. These are not guilty criminals. They're just people. And if it weren't for the laws that are based in coercion and threats of violence, and it's called ad baculum. It's a logical fallacy that basically just means I have a big stick, and if you don't do what I say, I'm going to hit you over the head with it. And then that's how they get people to cower in fear and do what they're told. And it's really terrible. But I mean, without that, for however many hundreds of years since these things started getting ramped up, how many criminals would really exist today? How much of it is just compounding upon itself, And that's where we got to be at today. Because if we don't start, if we don't really start making a concerted effort into people putting their differences aside and realizing what really matters, which is like a future for, the children, and, and even a better future for ourselves. Why don't we deserve it? I mean, we deserve good things, but I mean, these kids today, I have 2 children, and they're going to get a future, whether I like it or not. There is a future in store for them. Now, what kind of a dad would I be if in 20 years, man, if the world's a hellhole and they turn to me and they go, how did it end up like this? And I tell them the stories, the vaccines and the lockdowns and the presidents and the wars and all this stuff. And then they look at me and they go, what did you do? I go, oh, I did nothing. I didn't do anything. I was a coward. I would deserve their resentment. But if I could look at them and honestly say, like, I worked hard, I did everything I could, and and if that's the truth, then then it's the truth. And that's what we can all do. We can all work toward making the future a better place. and what is going to make it that better place. Learning how to coexist peacefully through means of voluntarism and using our free will wisely and saying, I am not going to consent to performing violent actions against peaceful people because they don't deserve it. And I don't like it when it's done to me.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful message, by the way. I like it very much. For us, it's common sense. We're already in that. Uh, we are in this pool for a long time. I mean, the problem with that is consent. And why do we have why do people consent about it? Because they don't know. And for most of them, they're ignorant. So and for only for, because you mentioned it earlier, I'm actually doing a series in my podcast about the freedom movement. It's called culture of freedom. This is what I'm doing, and I just have yesterday Derek and Chris Nelson on the podcast, and it was a good conversation. I like it this way, when we have a frank, direct conversation about it. And
yeah,
on the French side, I've made a one about the freedom fighters. So I'm pretty much in that in these time, and there's so many things that we have to say and that we have to discuss about. And the problem that I pointed out in the podcast before is the inconsistencies in the anarchist movements, because there's so much kind of anarchist around. I get dizzy from all of them. And most of these communities and groups, they cannot even fucking get on one thing. They cannot get fucking on the same page just for one thing, and that's anarchy. What is anarchy? What's the base of freedom and sovereignty and morality? And we cannot even fucking get into the same page. This is what we have to do, is fucking solidifying these communities and build them on with strong foundations.
it's about recognizing, it's about coming to terms with the truth about what is it really going to take to attain, maintain, and then retain real freedom.
Yep.
And it all comes back down to your mentality and the manifestation of your mentality through your actions. And how do we really retain a state of freedom? We have to be on top of ourselves in the actions that we perform. Now, when we start doing violence to one another, that creates a need for someone to stop it.
Yep.
And if there's a large enough amount of violence, like, this is how governments get formed. People who are afraid of having violence done unto them. And then it's just off to the races from there. Now, when it comes down to maybe a local municipality in like a town or even a city, if you want to have an organized group of people that come together to make sure that the people who are there voluntarily are getting the things that they want and need, there's nothing wrong with that, because you put on the leadership cap, the job gets done, you take the hat off, and then you go the fuck home. And you're not really in charge of anyone. Right? This is just called governance, and it's not government. You're not controlling anybody. You're saying somebody needs a house built. I'm a carpenter. I'm a contractor, a damn good one. So I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to make sure that everything is in its right place. The mise en place is going to be where it needs to be. And I'm going to get the job done, and the house is going to be standing up and it's going to last for a long time. And then when the house is done, I am no longer in charge because the job is done. Oh, we want roads, huh? Well, I run a paving company. So when the road needs, oh, all right, I'll do that. And then from there on and on and on, all the civil things that need to be done in a community such as that, they get done, and no one seeks to outstay their welcome in a position uh, of uh, of I guess of authority, because you can be an author like you can be an authority on a topic. You can say, "Oh, well, I know a lot about a specific time period in history. I'm an authority on the topic." That's just a a label people slap on those. But then there's the quote unquote authority, which is an illusion. And it doesn't really exist. And this is the authority of the state. The reason why it doesn't really exist is because it all relies on mind control. They don't produce anything. They're a bunch of plunderers. They steal from us and then they give it to whoever they want. And then they consider themselves to be in charge. And if you say, no, I don't want to be stolen from, they come and take you away if they find out. So, you know, like I was saying, there's really nothing wrong with the first scenario, right? But the second we all start acting violently toward one another, that's when people start getting scared, when they can't defend themselves. But again, largely like that. Why does it seem to be that way today? Is because they were trained to be defenseless. They were trained into that state of helplessness. And you mentioned a couple times already common sense. Well, it's not very common, is it?
Hmm.
The reason why it's common sense is because it's a sense of what is right and wrong being common among the people.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not very common because everyone's a fucking relativist and it can't work that way. There is a baseline of right and wrong that exists in the fabric of the universe itself. Otherwise, what's the point of having a nervous system? Oh, wow, what a jump, huh? Geez, what do you mean by that? Well, why even feel anything at all if it's not right or wrong? Okay, why even have freedom of choice at all? Freedom of association, free will. Why even have any of that at all? People think it doesn't even exist. Those people are crazy. You're crazy to think that it doesn't exist. Of course, cause and effect is real. If it weren't real, how the hell did we get in the position that we're in right now? Look around you. If cause and effect wasn't real, I don't know, this is some crazy simulation, but I mean, for real, like free will and cause and effect work hand in hand. The consequences, you don't get to choose. If there's going to be a consequence, whether you like it or not. If it's good, great. If it's a bad consequence, well, then you need to reflect upon your actions and maybe choose a different path next time you get the choice. But it's still a choice. And we can choose to do better. We look around our world right now, today, and ask yourself one question. Is this the type of world that gets produced by a bunch of people acting right? Or is this the type of world that gets produced by the aggregate of the population acting wrong or immorally? It seems to be the latter. It seems to be, to me, that the world that we live in today, where we have wars that have been going on for decades of my life, that we have poverty that is still going on, that we have all this crazy, crazy stuff that seems to be like, unnecessary and making the world a really terrible place to live. When we have lockdowns and forced vaccinations a couple of years ago that everyone just wants to sweep under the rug and pretend that it didn't happen. People are dying in the hospital alone. You had to say goodbye to your grandmother over a fucking FaceTime. And you're going to tell me, oh, get over it?
No.
Like it didn't even happen. Is this the world that we would live in if people were acting right? If people were treating each other right? No, it's not. So this is all the proof that we need that cause and effect is real, and that our free will is what decides the consequences in the aggregate of the population of people that live on this planet. Look around.
Yeah,
That's it.
and even inaction has consequences.
Well, yeah, I mean, inaction is still an action, right? You can't avoid it. The Rush, and you might know Rush, the band, Canadian band, and I like them very much. There's a song called, I think the song is even called "Free Will," and
Hmm.
in the song, the lyric goes, um, I don't know the full lyric, but there at the end of it, he says, if you choose not to decide, well, you still have made a choice."
Hmm.
So even inaction is a form of action. Like you can never not be doing action, right? So you're breathing, you're blinking, your heart's beating. There's always action going through your body. There's always thoughts going through. I hope, I hope that there's thoughts going through people's heads. These are more metaphysical type of action. Like you can't really. It's not tangible, but it's still the process of life happening. And good luck getting away from it. So inaction is still, you're going to still reap the consequences of that when you could have done more. You chose to do less. It's still a choice.
Hmm. And like you, so it's so clear how you described it, and I like the way you explained it. How much pain are we ready to take to put a stop to it?
How
And
much pain are people willing to take to let it keep going on? Because I
yep.
can guarantee you that the way of maximum pain is the way that we're headed right now. And if you really wanted to lessen the pain, we would do something about it. Because
Yep.
it's not about us. It's not about any one individual that's alive right now. It's about securing a free future for generations to come. I think the founding fathers of this country were worried about their own lives and their own wealth. No, there's writings all over the place about how they knew that them as individuals deserved freedom and what was happening was wrong and everything like that. But they were like, this can't go on for generations now. It's been going on. We can't. We don't want it to go on for the generations to come. So we got to put a stop to it. Every action that has been done righteously has been an action that has been performed out of selflessness.
Yep.
We
Sacrifice and
deserve
compromise.
we deserve freedom, yes. As individuals that are alive right now, we have been graced with the touch of life, the animating force in the universe that has granted us life. We have souls that needs to be respected. Each individual unit of consciousness has a soul, and we of all of us have been blessed with this opportunity at life. Unfortunately, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order for anyone to enjoy it.
Hmm.
And it's never going to get better until somebody decides that it's time to make the sacrifice to make it better for the future. This is the ultimate act of selflessness that will pay off for generations to come. And it's nothing that one person can do alone. We need to stand up and unite and all together in a loud chorus scream out, no, we're not going to take this anymore. We deserve better. We're alive. We're breathing. We have life. We have consciousness, and we deserve respect, and we don't deserve violence because we haven't done it to anyone. We don't deserve it. Unless you're voting, and unfortunately a lot of people are paying taxes and I mean, some people are just afraid. I'm one of them. I'll be honest with you. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what the future might look like. And it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing compared to what 50 years from now is going to look like. Think back, at least in world history, in the last like 20 years. You and I have both been alive for that, Fred. You know, back in the 90s, it seemed like the world was awesome. And now you can't even recognize it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, thinking in terms of that, what's the next 40 years going to bring? You know, when they do these Fabian socialist tactics of incremental changes over a long period of time, and they make people think that, you know, they do this social engineering and mind control tactics to, you know, right now the play is at guns, right? They want to get rid of the Second Amendment. Well, they can't do it to the people that are existing right now because we're too smart and we like our guns too much to give them up freely and without, you know, with our own free will. But what they can do, and this is just an example of Fabian socialist tactics, is what they can do is they can go after the youth, and they can mentally train these young people to think that they never need them in the first place. 2 or 3 generations later, no one even knows what the Second Amendment is. No one even knows what the self-defense principle is and how important it is to maintain that in one's life. No one even cares. Why do I need a gun? You know, I don't need to defend myself. This is ridiculous. You know, I'm sorry to say it, but Canada has a real problem with that. Australia
Mhm.
has a real problem with that. There's a lot of countries out there that have real problems with this type of stuff. And you know, there's little pockets of people in those countries that are getting by just fine, and they're maintaining their own personal freedom and their ability to own firearms and regulate themselves with them. But in large part, it's been something. It's been a large defanging of a lot of the people that live in those parts of the world, and they've been done that has been done systematically to make people think that they don't even need them. You know, and
In
so,
Canada, brother, the 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 weapons are not going anywhere. There's a lot of people who have guns, and they're very vocal about it.
but your government has done leaps and bounds to make sure that people
Yeah,
can't purchase new ones and trade them, and I mean, the prime minister, fucking fucknut Trudeau, is always talking about how, you know, people can't get this or that or the other thing, and it's just, from an outside perspective, I can only imagine. But I've talked to some people that also live in Canada and have confirmed that in their parts, where was it? Ottawa and, I forget where the guy lives, but, this was years ago. And Ontario, sorry, and I'm not familiar with the landscape in Canada as much as I probably should be to talk about the topic as thoroughly as I'd like to, but, I mean,
we don't. We still have access to weapons.
good,
Sure.
good.
I don't know in Ontario and Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Alberta. I don't know about that, but here in Quebec, we still have weapons. We still have access to it, and there's a big percentage of the people where I live now that are using weapons.
Well, don't ever give them up. I don't think you will.
I'm not.
But it's undeniable that the clutches are the grip is getting tighter and tighter on a lot of places and all across the world, you know, and they're trying it in America, probably harder than anywhere else. And like I was saying, they don't need to. They're not going to take guns from anybody. They know that that's impossible. What they're going to do is they're going to mind control people into never wanting them in the first place.
Yep.
And
They
then, like
already
I said,
did
2
that.
or 3 generations down the road, gun ownership is extinct. And
Yeah, I don't know in
unfortunately,
America. I don't know. I think America's gonna get rid of the weapons and guns. I doubt it.
oh no, no, no.
I highly doubt it.
I'm saying what their plan is.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happened in England. Actually, England is totally disarmed. So this is a point where I think in France too, if I'm not wrong. But you know, totalitarianism is, it's on there. It's not coming. It's already there. You know, but
Yeah.
we don't have to consent. We don't have to tolerate the violence, and we don't have to encourage people or let it happen. And this is where the power resides: care, love, and truth.
Hmm.
Simple, simple truth. Is it violent? Does it cause harm? Yes, then you don't have the right to do it. Simple as that.
Yeah,
For the
and you can
people,
choose not to do it. You can use your free will ability. You can choose not to do it. That's the best part about all of it. You
yep,
can say no. I'm not going to do that thing. It's not just about like It's, it's like it's really a beautiful thing to have free will.
yep,
Comes at a price sometimes because there are people out there that don't like being told no. And those are the ones that you need to distance yourself from
hmm,
because they've just never grown up. you know. Um,
yeah. I like this conversation there. The principle of self defense and all these things. I think you're absolutely right about it. It's gonna be took out from education as a whole. People will not know about it. They don't care about it anyway. You know, they're like, why having weapons? Why why are you like trying to defend yourself? And I'm telling them, they have guns. They have some automatic caliber. They have tanks, and we have what we're going to use if we have to defend ourselves: rocks, shovels, you know,
Slingshots.
yeah, slingshots, you know.
I've been asked like when I've been honest with certain people in my life um about equipment that I own, the firearms that I own, and I've been straight up asked, "What do you need that for?" And it's like, I mean, what do you mean? What do I need that for? To defend myself and to defend my family, from whoever. It doesn't matter. It's like that's it. Bottom line. Because when violence is being done onto me, I have every right to put a stop to it, no matter who says what.
Yep.
And it comes back to who started it. Was it you? No. Okay, that's all that matters, right? I mean, that's the truth of the situation. That's where truth lies. In every situation is who initiated what against who. And that's it. So again, like when people say that truth doesn't exist and it's relative and blah 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 blah, it's like no, I've seen some random acts of violence on the street that didn't need to happen, and the truth is that guy just walked over to the other guy out of nowhere and punched him in the back of the head for no reason. They've never met each other, and the truth is that that guy was violent to the other one. I've seen it with my own
Simple.
eyes, and it's like, so don't tell me that there's no such thing as truth. I mean, we live in an objective reality, and yeah, you can have your subjective, experience within that reality, but reality still exists whether you like it or not, and you don't have control over it. And you can't just make it up as you go along. Like you can have your perspectives, you can have your opinions, you can have your experiences, and those are all subjective and those are all personal to you, but you experience those things in reality, in an objective plane of reality that we all live in together. When you walk outside and it's raining outside and your neighbor goes, "It's not raining because I don't think it's raining." And you're like, "You're fucking crazy." Like these things happen. I mean, not the denial of weather and stuff like that. I'm saying that like, you know, the things in reality happen, and it's the baseline that we all have to base everything off of. And it's time that us as a whole really get back to having a good relationship with reality. And that's going to do a lot of healing for some people. that desperately need it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we're doing what we're doing with the One Great Work Network. Actually, I think it's the one of the parallel works that we're doing. It's try to bring solutions and knowledge that can change the game. You
Yeah.
know, they're very grounded, applicable, that you can do in your life, in everyday, in your everydays, and it's gonna work. It's gonna absolutely work. And the first thing that we have to do, it's getting sovereignty for ourselves. Means that our brain, our heart, and our guts are in sync together.
Yep. And I like how you
So
started
yeah.
that with the brain, because that's where the sovereignty starts as well. You have to heal what's going on in the mind, because if you're not operating well up there, your emotions are going to be out of funk. Your actions are just a manifestation of your thoughts and emotions, and they manifest as your actions, and it's all going to fall apart. So what we need to start with is basically just getting right in your head. And that's why I highlighted making sure that you have a decent relationship with reality itself, is come back down to earth for a little bit,
Mhm.
and make sure that you're right with reality, and that you understand that you can't just make up whatever you want, and that's what happened. And it's no such thing as your truth or his truth, her truth, or my truth, or whatever. No, there's the truth, and then there's your experience, and then there's the truth, and that's reality. Hello. And so, I mean, that's where the healing starts. No one can do it for you. This is why individual rights are so important to understand, is because you are the individual, the person that needs to do these things to make sure that you're not negatively affecting other people in your surroundings. And if you're having a negative effect on those people in your surroundings, something's off. And you
Yeah.
and it's incumbent upon you to figure that out and to make it right. And there's other people that love you that are going to help you. And then there's other people that are like too busy, and that's their right to be too busy and have freedom of association or whatever. But you hope that you have a good support system. But not everybody has that, and that's not always great, but it's still upon the individual to want to come out of the rut, the slump, whatever, to make things better for themselves so they can be of a better impact on the world around them and have a better footprint on the world around them, and just to do right. Because if you're not doing right, you're going to go wrong. That's a Richard Wetherell book, I believe. Do right or go wrong. And it's all about, like, the consequences of your actions and making sure that you're doing right. And by doing right, you're not imposing your will upon others and saying, do this or else, because that's where it all starts. And then the rest of the shit, the rest of the violent actions follow from that one. You do some lies and you can tell the truth and fess up to it. That's pretty easy to make up for. But, when you do stuff like, that's like the deceit part, the theft of the truth. And then you do the other things, and it's increasingly, as you go down the list, increasingly more difficult to make it right. But I mean, when it starts to get really bad is when you start doing things that when you start performing actions that initiate harm against people in the way of taking away their free will choice and taking away their property, you
Consent.
know, and doing things. Yes, you don't have their consent. That's when it becomes very difficult to make things right. So if you're, and that's why doing right is so important, because of the massively negative effect that those actions have against people. And
And it's getting bigger. So one thing that Mark Passios brought up, and this is a good one: freedom and morality are connected together.
yeah, Yeah, that's what I was saying about earlier about the state of the world that we live in, and all you got to do is take a real good look around and ask yourself: is this the type of world that gets created by a bunch of people who are living morally? because there's a whole lot of slavery all over the planet in many, many different forms. And there's a whole lot of really, really terrible, violent things going on a daily basis. And if this is the civilized world that taxation and government supposes to, create and protect, I don't want any part of it. Count me out of your version of civilization, because this is terrible. So when we look around, we just got to ask that one question, and I'll say it one more time. Is this the type of world that gets created by a big group of people in the aggregate, the population of people on this planet, creating this world by doing right? Or is this the type of world that gets created by people doing wrong? Because I don't know. I look around and I see it on a daily basis, how cutthroat people are and how much they don't care about others.
Yeah.
Everyone's walking the left-hand path. The majority of people, at least. Everyone is a bit hyperbolic, but the majority of people are walking the left-hand path of selfishness and Satanism and all this other junk that we could do without. But we can turn that around, I guess. I really feel like sometimes that it is it's just such an uphill battle. I get so demoralized about it, and I'm just like, God damn it. But I know too much to keep my mouth shut. So here I am.
Yeah, and this is what we have to do. And I'm gonna have to cut it short tonight. I'm tired.
Me too.
Yeah. So I just want to say to people, like, I'm gonna finish all my podcasts with saying this: get involved into the work. Don't fucking wait. Do something about it. You know it's wrong. You know it's bad. Then do something. You don't have to do podcast or things like that. You can do a lot of different things. There's the Corey and Drulat Liberator 2. There's networking. There's community that you can help in the community and learn about natural law and morality, and then teach it to other people. This is what we need. We need more teachers. We need more people involved into the work. And when I'm talking about the work, I'm not talking about washing your toilet or mowing your grass. I'm talking about like getting better as a human being, doing the shadow work when you can do it, and get involved in the community locally or on the internet. Create content. It can be music, it can be videos, it can do yourself. You don't have to show your face, but at least do something. And this is how I'm gonna end this one. And James, please remember people about your work and where they can get it. I'm gonna put up the web address there.
Yeah. My new website is called voluntaristacademy.com. It's on the screen right now. I'm sure that Fred can probably put a link to that in the
Sure.
In the post production, there. And yeah, come on over and just check it out. Come on over to the YouTube channel and all that stuff. And Fred's talking about doing the work, and that's very important to do. If you don't have the time to really produce your own content, talk to people. If you watched this video, you've gotten this far. If this topic intrigues you, share it with people around you. Ask them what they think about this. Start a conversation with your immediate, with your family. And that's also a form of doing the work. It's all about changing the mind of someone, or helping them change their mind for themselves, presenting new information and seeing if it interests people, and hoping that we can make a dent in the slavery business before it's too late. So if you liked this video, You don't got to do much to support my channel, and you don't got to do much to support Fred's channel. You could just simply give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe. We are battling algorithms. It's very
Yep.
awkward to panhandle for likes and subscribes. A lot of people go, "Huh, think it's a joke and everything." But I mean, information like this does not get disseminated to the public by
Mhm.
algorithms. It gets shadow banned.
Yep.
We can fight that by sharing it, by liking it, and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And that's how the easiest way for people that are nervous about putting their own face and voice out there, that's how you can fight as well. That's how you
Yep.
can support the people that are doing this type of work. Go buy a book, go help authors. Corey's an author, Larkin Rose is an author. There's plenty of other authors out there that are writing material about this information, and you can help them. So, I mean, these are the different ways that you can get in on the fight, and making sure that the people that are doing a lot are getting helped. Yep. And so I like to tell everybody, there's a positive message that I sign off with, that no matter what anyone tells you, you own yourself, period. I own me, you own you, and I am not allowed to make you do stuff. I love everybody. I have an extremely a great amount of love for people. I just wish that they would start smartening up and stop acting like retards. And so with that, Fred, my
Yeah.
man, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate you. And you've been, like I told you in the pre-show, you've been cranking it out, man. I'm proud of you. And I see you posting new stuff all the time, dude. It's awesome. And congratulations, by the way. I don't know if anyone else knows this, but I won't blow
Sure.
up your spot, but I do want to publicly say, I love you, bro. Congratulations. Keep up the
Thank
great
you, man.
work. And it's going to be great, man. And I'll see you again soon.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to cover. Not much time to do it. So we're probably we have to do something together later. Um, and for the people who wants to see more, then the LIBERcast is on YouTube, Odysee, Facebook. The group is there. My name is there. Under, you go get me there. Send me an invitation. Send me a little message with it. Because if you don't send me a message with it with the invitation, I'm gonna probably delete it. So just announce yourself, and because I don't trust Facebook at all. There's a lot of bullshit there. So just send me a message and then I'm gonna accept you and send you directly to the group where I share everyone's work there who wants to be there. So that's an invitation, James. By the way, the door is open. You can share on the group on the Facebook if you want to, and accepting all the one great work network workers there. So go on and take care, people, and we're gonna see us. I think the next one, I'm gonna try to do one in French because I'm like sixth in a row in English, and I try to do more French videos, but it keeps getting back to the English language for some reason. French Canadian are fucking, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's really hard to get through this fucking stubborn mentality that we all have. French Quebecers, French Canadians. There's nothing to do about it. Fucking hard-headed, stubborn people. But we're good warriors. We're good fighters. So that's the good side of it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being there. Thank you to the guests that were there. Thank you, James, again for your time partaking and sharing your information with us. And see you soon on the next one. Take care, people.